To give you some background on my friend Tim, made up name, he has been programming since he was like 7 years old. Tim said by the time he got to college, he breezed through most of his computer science classes because a lot of the content they were covering he had already mastered years prior. Tim is an excellent programmer. Tim's career has been quite successful. He's worked for Google, Facebook, Amazon, and finally, a hedge fund. The story starts at the hedge fund. Tim works a lot with AI technology, and at this hedge fund, he was the lead programmer manager who spearheaded an effort to optimize their AI that helped them complete literally millions of trades a day. To say his work had a massive impact was an understatement. All of this is going on with COVID-19 in the background. Due to COVID-19, they went to a work-from-home model, where my friend Tim kept working. During the work from home, Tim was looking around his fancy $4,500 New York City apartment and wished for things like a yard, a heated pool, a nice 3-car garage, and not living in a high-rise. It dawned on Tim that he could leave New York City. Tim moves to Michigan. So Tim moved back to his hometown in Michigan, where he bought himself a really nice home with a heated pool, a 3-car garage, a nice yard, and guess what the yard had in it? A mother-in-love suite, which was essentially a 2-bedroom, 1-bath second home on the property of his main home, which he turned into his man cave. It's actually pretty sick. Oh yeah, and his mortgage payment was far less than his $4.5K a month rent, like half. Tim spent the rest of his COVID-19 work from home pounding out projects, etc. He never actually informed his employer on an official basis he moved. He just kept working. Then COVID-19 ended. COVID-19 is finally over. Back to the office. Or Tim boss, Larry calls him up and goes, "All right, Tim, on Monday, we are starting work back at the office." And Tim goes, "Yeah, about that I moved to Michigan." Larry is shocked and goes, "You didn't even ask if you could do that." And Tim basically said, "I didn't even ask if you could do that." And Tim basically said, "I didn't know I needed your permission to move." In a sarcastic as-if way, Larry insists that Tim needs to move back to New York City or he won't have a place on the team. Tim says he's been doing the exact same work from home at a high level for the past year. He's willing to travel to New York City for a few meetings a year on his own dime, but he feels his quality of life is so much higher outside of New York City, he has no desire to live in New York City. To which Larry said if Tim doesn't have any desire to live in New York City, then he has no desire to keep Tim employed. Now, dear Reddit, what do you think a talented senior programmer with over a decade of experience who specializes in AI technology is going to say to a response like that? If you're thinking he quit, you'd be absolutely right. He quit. Maintaining complex code can be hard. Now, anyone that has done any programming knows that sometimes the best person to maintain the code is the person who wrote the code. There's logic, there's thought processes, there's so much that goes into programming that can be so individualistic it can be hard for someone to take over a code base they didn't write. John, CEO, enters the picture. 6 weeks goes by when John calls Tim. John is the CEO of the hedge fund. John gets Tim to agree to consider coming back, so that's when John suggests they fly Tim to New York City, and he sits down with John. Tim, however, flipped the switch and said, "No. How about you fly out to Michigan and we discuss this?" Tim said he said that because he wanted to establish if he was going to come back, it was going to be him, working from Michigan, and if he was going to talk his employment, it was going to be done in Michigan. John agreed. 2 days later, flew out to meet with Tim. Tim sits down, and John says they really need him because he provided a lot of value to the organization and the programming team is struggling. John offers Tim the opportunity to come back with a 20% pay cut since he won't be living in New York City, and John called that a cost of living adjustment, to which John said, "No, I want a 15% raise above what I was earning." John sits back and responds, "The reason we pay what we pay is because we ask you to live in New York City, and we understand that's an expensive city to live in." To which Tim says, "You pay what you pay, and you pay it because I am worth it. If I wasn't worth what you pay, you wouldn't be paying me now. My first condition is If you want me back, it'll be a 15% raise. John goes, and the second condition is I'll come back so long as Larry isn't there. John sighs, you're asking for too much, to which Tim goes, you don't need to bring me back if you don't want to. I'll be fine elsewhere. John goes, I'll talk to the partners. Tim says my offer is good till Friday. John goes, what do you mean? Tim says next Monday is when I'm going to start looking for work. This offer is good until Friday. It was Tuesday. John leaves. That Thursday the phone rings. It's John. In conclusion, Tim, we are transferring Larry to a different fund. He won't be working with you anymore, and we are fine with giving you a 15% raise. Can we send you an offer letter for you to sign? Tim said, of course, and Larry is really gone. John goes, yes, you will never need to interact with Larry ever again. That was at the start of this year. Tim hasn't been in New York City, hasn't heard from Larry, hasn't seen Larry on any communications, etc. Backstory. I worked at this hotel for over 2 years and was one of 2 people left that went through the training when our hotel changed hotel franchises. During this training, we were told about certain rules the company had. Cast, manager, front desk manager. He only was here for 6 months at this point. Me. I am a nice guy unless you are a bully or entitled person. A few others I will mention as we go through. Story. One afternoon, I was scheduled to work second shift 3 to 11. I walked in and both AM front desk co-workers looked like they had been massively crying as their makeup was smeared. My manager looking quite pissed. I ask, what's wrong? Manager, we have a major jerk as a guest. This guy is the highest level on the rewards for the hotel chain. He is very demanding and wants free upgrades, free this or that, and screams anytime he has an interaction with the staff. This guy has made every department call me complaining about him. Now this guy just came to the desk and screamed at these 2 coworkers until they both were crying. These 2 ladies were fresh high school graduates and were very sweet and innocent people. They loved helping people and didn't deserve this treatment. As he is explaining this, I look up this guy's room details. Once my manager finishes explaining everything this guy had done, I see this guy's info. I had a smile from ear to ear. I reply, didn't you see he is an employee of a different hotel? Manager, yes, but so what? I replied, first off, while you travel as an employee, you are required to behave and be respectful. It is in the fine print on the discount form. I grabbed his form and showed it to the manager. Failure to be respectful can lead to having your employee discount suspended or permanently revoked and even get you terminated. You need to call this guy's hotel and ask for the GM. Then explain to him who you are and what this guy is doing. I look up the hotel phone number and call the hotel and then handed my manager the phone. Manager, after his call, ends with the GM. He has an evil and satisfying smile on his face. His GM is steaming mad after I described all the stuff this guy has done. Main switchboard phone ring. I answered, hello. Thank you for calling hotel name. How may I direct your call? Caller, I want to speak to entitled Jerk's Room, please, I replied. Absolutely, sir. Have a nice day. Transfer the call, and looked at my manager and saying with a sarcastic tone someone wanted to talk to entitled Jerky. I wonder who that could be. Manager continues, after he stopped laughing, the GM gave me his personal cell phone number and said if I have any more issues at all to call him immediately. I am leaving the phone number next to the switchboard. If you need it, call him. I told manager, your revenge is done. Now for my revenge. Manager, wide-eyed, oh crap. What are you going to do? Me, smiling a very evil smile, you'll see. I pick up the phone to make a call. Hello, Hotel Rewards customer service. Yes, I would like to report someone using reward account while using employee discount on his stay. Customer service. He can't do that, I replied. I know. I am calling to report him. I gave her the guest reservation number and rewards member number. I continued, I bet anything, if you dig through this guy's history, you will find all his stays are probably at employee discount. Customer service, I am starting a ticket to have this guy's account investigated. I replied, thank you, then hang up the phone. The manager watched as I then remove his rewards number from his stay. My manager had a huge grin on his face that was awesome. I explain, "Oh, I am not quite finished with him yet. It is time to go spread the news to all departments. He is no longer a rewards member." I made a new key for his room without concierge access. I walked around to every department. As I explained why I was stopping by, everyone had the same reaction as soon as I mentioned the guy's name. "Oh, God. Now what about this? A-hole." I finished explaining how he was no longer a reward member, and if he gives anyone issues to call the front desk immediately, and his GM already probably tore him a new one just a minute ago. Everyone was so happy at this news. I finally went to the concierge room, used the guest's new key to void his current key. Then I walked into the room and explained the information to the evening concierge. She cringed at the mention of his name after explaining she would not have to deal with him again, and asked her to leave the morning person a note about this guy, not allowed in the concierge room anymore. She was very happy. While I was gone, evidently the manager explained what we did to the 2 a.m. front desk ladies. The minute I got back to the desk, both my front desk coworkers all came up to me and gave me a huge hug and thanked me so many times. "Manager to me, after the other coworkers went home, do me a huge favor, please," I replied. "Sure, what's up? Manager, if I ever piss you off, please come tell me so. I can fix the issue." Later that night, entitled Jerk comes to the desk hat in hand, politely saying his key doesn't work. I replied, "Oh, so sorry about that. Let me make you a new key." In the best fake smile I can muster. Aftermath. Next day, I check his rewards account, and it is now suspended. Check back next week. Sorry, account number not found. This happened when I was young, heard it secondhand from my grandmother, who the main character of the cast lived with at the time. My uncle's ex-girlfriend was an all-around horrible person. Abusive babysitter, got my uncle into bad crowds and legal trouble, and dabbled in so many substances from A to Z. She was also heavily tatted. There was an artist, the star of the story, who was a family friend. Great dude, insane work. She asks him to do a piece for her. Huge, intricate angel wings. Oh, the irony. Across her back. He agrees. It takes several sessions across weeks. She repeatedly has to postpone payment, but he's chill, family friend, yada, 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 until it comes to the last session when it slips that she still doesn't have the money, and more importantly, won't have the money, like ever. Now, the pro-revenge. No collection agency, no refusal to continue. He smiles, waves it off, says he'll finish up, no charge. It's gonna be a great piece. Legendary, one for the history books, he guaranteed. She's stoked. So right between those gorgeous wings, right up her spine, this idiot now has a massive, veiny male appendage proudly standing at attention up her spine. She saw it in the mirror when he finished, and she was livid. But hey, what's she gonna do? She didn't pay him and wasn't going to pay him and expected hours and hours of work. You give a lot of trust to someone when they take a needle to your skin to lay down something permanent. Don't stiff your artists.